and such, and the delayed torpedo for shallow running would run into the earth, and then they plant 10 or 12 of these things in there, and they blow, 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 blow. So anyway, the war ended. Now, not just because of my father, because there were thousands of men there, but he was instrumental, and he was the first Army officer ever to be put onto the Air Force targeting board during that time, because he was so well at picking the targets from the interrogation. So Dad did that for peace, and I think everyone should know. The next thing he did for peace comes years after that, to where my dad was, since he had Colonel North's job and was on the White House staff with Eisenhower as liaison between Chief of Staffs and Capitol Hill, he was in charge of interpreting U-2 photos. So when the photos came through, he saw the missile silos for Cuba on there, took it to Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy, Attorney General, says, my brother's up for election, put that back away. So Dad was pretty slick at the time. He had like his own little secret covert army, you might say. There was a lot of maladjusted people on Capitol Hill, and he instantly recruited them all. And so he made a deal. He made a deal with that it went on Kennedy's desk after it was released. A friend of his named, what was that name, Dad? Frank Hann released it. No, took the report to Gene Dixon. Gene Dixon released it to the newspaper. The FBI came running into Gene Dixon's and was going to arrest her, and said, "Where did you get this information from?" "I saw it in a crystal ball," she said. So actually my dad could be tried for treason probably for such things. I mean, it was a very hot subject. Luckily we weren't at war, and luckily that it wasn't traceable back to my father. But just think about it. If the Cuban Missile Crisis had not been released, like Kennedy didn't want it released. Now that's the part of history no one knows. And that's why we will not print the book the day after Dallas. It just will not happen in our lifetime. There are still 50 people alive that it can be embarrassed by it. And Dad was Senate internal investigator for Senator Javits that investigated the Warren Commission, which investigated Kennedy's death, and it's still classified, and it will remain classified for the next 50 years probably. So anyway, enough said on that subject. I will never speak on that subject again. That's as much as I will say on it. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just had what Oprah called an aha moment. I have been losing keys that just disappear from me, and other objects too. I know they go in the sixth dimension. I just got that the planes are, wherever they go, is the sixth dimension.
My father's, you're very good, because my father speaks of the sixth dimension in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I was just told.
Yeah, if it's
not channel, you channel your father, you channel all kinds for information, and it's being brought to your fingertips. We all channel.
Well, probably so, because I just lost a very important paper, and if the gremlins didn't get it, it's in the sixth dimension. And I'm not making jokes. I'm not making jokes. You could be right. You could be absolutely right. Well, it was meant to bring here, and I promised it. Can I mention your name? I mentioned I would for him. It was I forgot your name. Tell you the truth. Pardon me? Paul Hellyer. Paul Hellyer. Yes, Paul. I'm so sorry. Names I have trouble with, because I give my own names to people, and I almost said it. So it's a good name. I do that all the time. I'm terrible with names. But anyway, it disappeared, and I don't know where it's at. But before I came here, I opened up Dad's black bag, and there it was on top. And I don't know. Maybe I'll find it again. Yeah. So anyway, those things do happen. Yes.
Just a quick question on the time. If it's hard to go back in the past, is that same prohibition or difficulty occur going to the future? And at least from my conception, how do you go to the future, and how do you know which one, and how does it exist if it ain't here yet, and so on and so forth? Where's free will?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not-
you don't need to go to the future, because if someone comes back from the future, it's the same thing. They're going to bring the knowledge with them. So according to Einstein, relativity theory, you can only go backwards. You can look back into the Big Bang, and it's still there, you know, and so is our Earth. But remember, our Earth is moving through space at some 350-something thousand miles per hour. So we're going into new territory all the time. Another part of time travel that most people don't think about is I have an infinity with machines. And it says that in the book, too. My dad mentions, and he says to General Trudeau, I think my boy's nuts because he says engines talk to him. Well, I can tell a motor anything. Liz can, anything that's wrong with a motor, it just instantly pick up. Even if the car's in front of me, I can tell. It's just the way that I was born that way. I wire airplanes and have no idea how I did it. Well, it's not true. I did it because I have already done it before. So, you know, we're all born with all the knowledge we ever need. God could not create you any less than what He is. You would not want your children to be any less than you. You want them to be more than you. So, this being said, every time you read a book, you're not learning anything in that book. You're learning how to extract the information from your brain. And it's there. Now, you might say, well, science says the neurons haven't been put together, and on a baby they don't come together to a certain age, and dot, 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 dot. They don't know diddly about the brain, believe me. Because the brain, first of all, there will be no travel in space, Dad says in the book, too. You cannot travel. And NASA knows this for a long time. And I dubbed the word friendly space. Friendly space means within the magnetic field of the Van Allen belt, which is 22,000 miles out, and the field of the moon. They have never once, NASA, sent an astronaut outside of the magnetic field because they know, Dad knew, General Trudeau knew, it's instant death. The brain cannot, as soon as it moves out of the Earth's sphere, it's like a light switch. Out, finished, all she wrote. So we will never travel to the Mars. We will never travel anywhere. It will not happen. NASA now talks about, I saw you squint your eyes, and I got to go further with it. NASA talks now about putting 6 feet of moon dust to shield. Now, man will travel when he gets field density device, which is anti-gravity, which is artificial field, which is a self-contained entity within itself. And do I know how to build it? Absolutely. Did Dad was he in contact with world-renowned scientists, and they figured out from the Roswell craft how it worked? They knew far more about that craft than can be imagined. And yes, it's there. Yes, it's possible. And yes, it probably will be done. And like Scotty, yeah, maybe I did invent the damn thing anyway, you know. So we'll find out. It's very interesting. But I take it with a grain of salt. If it doesn't happen, that's okay, too. I go back to building my airplanes and make lots of money and everything's happy, you know. So next question.
Hi there. Hi. I heard your father speak at Ramtha School of Enlightenment some years ago, and my question for you has to do with technology.
Goody.
Ramtha basically has said that the spacecraft of the future has nothing to do with metal or anything so antiquated, but is about a membrane.
Absolutely.
That it is a membrane that is alive.
Yes.
It is an extension of our mind.
Yes.
And we are the pilot, and it is a self-protecting system.
Yes.
That no one will get anywhere unless they're consistent with the consciousness to be there.
Okay, reverse engineering, and you're absolutely correct. Did I cut you off?
No, my question is, do you know from your father anything? Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I'm so excited to elaborate that I cut you off. I'm sorry. Yes. In fact, I work with advanced composites every day, and I just made a new de-icing stall strip based upon the technology that my father left. And it's highly successful. We're making our first $1 million, and everything's great. My sons are back at the hangar building them as I was here. And we have a patent on them, and we have an STC with the FAA on them, and it's highly successful. And it is putting current through the skin of semiconducting carbons with special resins and